What's up, guys, and welcome to the first episode of Campaign Mode. This is where we took the debate that you saw on the podcast and we gave it its own show. That's right, the three of us are going to battle it out each week over a new topic to see who can become the Shifty Crab champion. You are looking at the six-time Shifty Crab champion. 6 times, 6 in a row. 6 in a row. Think about that for a second. The level of greatness that you are witnessing. So we thought, give it its own show. I have made it so it has its own show, so people can see my greatness. And you can see me beat Terry and Vince that way every single week as they come with their puny little suggestions and they crumble under the greatness that is me. So welcome, guys. And I suppose I should say, welcome the best beard in the business, Mr. Vince Haley.
What's up, Adam? What's that W stand for again? Wanker?
Winner.
Was that right? Well, winner? He's the winner, everybody.
A winner, mate.
We have a winner.
And down below, it is the retro king himself, the pun master general, Mr. Terry Jeffs. How you doing, Terry?
I may be down below, but I'm ready to come on top of you guys. Come on, this is the one. This is the one.
Well, this is the next rated show, apparently, about 20 seconds in. If you haven't seen our podcast, we each get an allotted time on a specific topic, and we argue why it is the best, why it's the worst, why it's the greatest, whatever the topic is, and then the other two rip it apart, and then we work our way through it. And then you can head over to Twitter, over at Crab Shifty, and you can vote in the poll for who wins. Usually just find the one that I've picked, because it is going to win.
Because you're so good at pandering.
Not anymore, boy.
To be honest, I think I put one tweet out about this in the whole week and I had it in the bag. If you didn't know, last week our topic was the greatest gaming villain of all times. You had the choice of Dr. Robotnik. You had the choice of Vaz Montenegro, is it? Is that his surname?
Yeah.
What's it? Yeah, Montenegro. Or GLaDOS from Portal and Portal 2, which was picked by yours truly and went on to win and crush the opposition in the process.
I mean, it's just a shame that people don't know what villains are, and they chose a sentient Japanese toilet to win.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
It is a real shame, and I'm glad that we've kind of brought this onto its own thing now. And campaign mode, I think it's going to be driven home a little bit more that we really need to campaign for these subjects and push them out there, because this tyranny is just becoming a bit ridiculous, and you need to be taken down. It's getting out of hand now. I don't want to see this anymore.
No,
oh, you're going to see it, especially this week. This week, you guys have not got a hope in hell. This week, we have been tasked by our own Mr. Terry Jeffs. It was his choice to pick. And Terry, do you want to tell the people what you have chosen for us to debate this week?
This week, Adam, Vince, we are going to be campaigning for who is the best video game development studio.
It's a big one. It is a big one.
It is a meaty one indeed.
Oh, I can't wait for this. I cannot wait for this. In fact, I'm going to start to concentrate now. Down. I'm going to you away. These are. I want to give you my undivided attention. I don't want you to be distracted by my greatness. So I'll just zero. Now it's X-rated. Now it's X-rated. But guys, first of all, it is our first campaign mode. This is going to be really good. It's going to be incredible. We're happy to be here. This is going to be a weekly show. You're going to find it on our YouTube channel. It is going to release on a Monday. You'll know that because you're watching it now. but it's going to release every Monday. So stick around. Write in the comments as well who you think should win, and we'll include them as well in our vote. It might be the only chance that these guys have to win. So they need all the votes they can get. But let's just
do this. Let's just do this.
I'm ready. Terry, you're in charge. Spin a wheel. Who is going first?
Right. Okay. Well, I guess we're going to go with... So we kind of already done the order of who's going when, right? Yeah, exactly.
You're first, aren't you?
So I will be starting, guys. Then it will be Adam. And then it will be Vince.
Okay. Save the best for last. Let's see.
You're going to need that drink, Adam. You're going to need that drink, I tell you.
Oh, I'm ready. As always, the floor is yours, Mr. Terry Jeffs. Hit us with your choice and try and wow us.
So, guys, the greatest games development studio ever. Okay? We're not talking about who's currently the best or who was the best at one time. No, we're looking at video game history. We're talking about who is the best studio. And I'm telling you guys, I am campaigning for Valve Software.
Now, here we go.
Let me give you guys a little lesson in game history. Valve Software, founded in 1998. These guys first came out of nowhere with a game called Half-Life. Their debut game. They just dropped that out there. Half-Life goes on to change the whole video game industry overnight. Prior to Half-Life, we had FPSs. We had stuff like Doom and Quake before that. FPS games were, let's just face it, they were like levels with a few cutscenes in between them. Then Half-Life comes along and it changes the way that stories are told in games, not just in FPSs, but just how the way that we can become immersed within the game world without having to have cutscenes, and just introducing the aspect of what games can do. Then they allow their software to be leased out, to be developed on and be modded on. We have games that they end up bringing the developers in-house to release. Team Fortress, Half-Life Opposing Forces, Blue Shift, Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike was a mod from Half-Life that then Valve ended up developing and releasing full, as part of the Half-Life package. You bought Half-Life Generations, you got all of these games. Counter-Strike alone changed the industry overnight with its online multiplayer shooter. That is still the standard of what we hold online shooters today, team-based shooters. So in that one release of Half-Life, they've changed story mode FPSs, they've changed multiplayer games, and Half-Life now is still being played. If you look at CSGO, that is still, you go to any real online professional video game tournaments, that is still the game that you kind of hold up there. Counter-Strike Go. But I'm jumping ahead. Let's go back a bit. Every single penny that Valve received in profit from selling Half-Life and Counter-Strike and every game that came before, and that was a lot of money, they invested into a brand new engine that was going to completely change the industry all over again. And of course, that engine was the Source engine, and that game was for Half-Life 2. Half-Life 2, if you thought Half-Life was defining in what it could do, Half-Life 2 kind of blew that out of the water. It looked so far ahead anything that was that came out in the industry, especially within that year. It pushed, the Source engine alone, it gave us physics in games. Like before Half-Life 2 came out, everything in games was just static. It just looked there. It was just like these assets. Half-Life 2 comes out and it can move anything, like items. You can pick up any items. Obviously, I talked about the gravity gun before. The fact that they implemented a weapon where you can just kind of just completely change your environment around you and manipulate it. It had never been done before. Then obviously we got the fantastic leap that they took in graphics with the facial animations, just everything. It was so cinematic. So again, took the FPS story driven game, pushed that forward again. And then through the Source engine, we had a whole new breed of games spawned out of that. Counter-Strike Source. They took the original Counter-Strike, improved on it in every way that they could graphically. Then we had Team Fortress 2, defining what a class-based online shooter should be. Went on to basically dominate that genre for at least a decade. The only game that you could even argue that competes with that and has possibly overtaken that is Overwatch. But Team Fortress 2 led the way for Overwatch, and not only that, pretty much defined a new graphical art style as well for games, which Overwatch heavily leans into with that kind of cartoony looking animation. Then with Half-Life 2, what do they do again? Do they just kind of sit on their laurels? No. Do they rest on their laurels? No. They start episodic gaming. Did we really have any popular episodic gaming before Half-Life 2 Episode 1, Episode 2? Let's not mention Episode 3. And then, what's the best deal that we've ever had in gaming? In terms of one purchase, one release? The Orange Box. It brought us Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2 Episode 1 and Episode 2, Team Fortress 2, all in one package. Oh, and what should we just sprinkle on top there? Portal. Valve decided to enter the genre of puzzle games. How does Valve handle a puzzle game? Probably going ahead and releasing, I'm sure you'd argue, Adam, one of the best puzzle games ever released. And again, defining how a story can be told in a game. So it's another genre they just kind of dipped into, and then they just kind of owned it. Then they go, okay, let's try something new. How about Left 4 Dead? Let's try a team-based 4-person online PvE game and see what we can do with that. Again, completely change that overnight. Every other developer is changing things to try and to kind of copy what they're doing. We're still getting it now. We've got I can't remember the name of it, Back for Blood or whatever the game is coming out. We've got the Alien game coming out. Still games that are copying what Left 4 Dead set up back in those days. We had Left 4 Dead 2, improving on that once again. Portal 2, which arguably you could say is even better than the original game, pushed on it. I know a lot of people like the original game. It's more tighter, more concise, but I think that was more of a prototype to show what this game could be. And Portal 2 just kind of leaned into that even more, making it a full-fledged, full-length AAA game. Then, again, Counter-Strike Global Offense. As I mentioned before, Counter-Strike Go. They took everything that was great about Counter-Strike 1.6, which was arguably the most popular Counter-Strike ever, and probably one of the most popular online games ever, and they improved on it. Counter-Strike Go is now the standard for Counter-Strike. I don't know how they did it. Not resting on the laurels again, they go into another genre with Dota 2. Now, obviously, they pretty much kind of popularized this genre with the original Dota back in the day, but we had games like, these battle arena games like League of Legends come out, and then Dota 2 comes along and again improves on it even more. And I think, I don't play battle arena games, but if you ask anyone that's serious about that genre, they will tell you that Dota 2 is the standard. That is the one that's where all the major tournaments are played. That is the main game. And then just to kind of finish it off, they want to get involved with VR. So what do when Valve gets involved with VR? And it's not often that Valve releases a new game, because Valve will only release a game when it's ready, when it is a high enough quality to be released. They're very much a quality over quantity. If you're going to look at their list of games released against any other studio, you'll be hard pressed to find a higher rated overall Metacritic list of games than Valve's. But when they release something, it's worthwhile. And they released Half-Life Alyx on a VR, and that is a game again that is pushing what VR can do. That is defining what VR should be used for. It's a game that should be played by more people, but unfortunately we don't have the technology for it yet. But it's that is setting the standard. Yes, we never got Half-Life 3. I believe that one day we will. I think that Alyx is kind of paving the way for that. But if you just look at this kind of lineup of games and genres, and you look at which genres they've kind of dipped into, they've defined them. They've redefined them. And I think that they've just kind of they raised the bar for quality for everything they do. And that's why I think that Valve are the best development studio out there. I'll leave the floor open to questions.
It's a nice 5-minute presentation. Vince, do you have anything to say before I jump in on this?
Oh boy, do I.
Of course he does. It's Vince.
Of course, it's me. As much as I like Valve, as much as they make great games, the only thing they're really good at is taking a solid mechanic and then building a game around it. I mean, you mentioned yourself, Half-Life 2 was based off of the fact that they wanted to make a great physics engine. And, they did. But to base an entire game around that kind of premise, they introduced, the gravity gun, which its only purpose was for showcasing the physics engine. It's basically when you hear people say, oh, it's just I'm losing the word. A tech test. It's just a technical showcase.
Tech demo.
Yeah. That's pretty much all that Valve does. Portal, tech demo. It's a puzzle game. Shifted around with, portals. That's it. Yeah, they inject interesting characters into it. But when you look at the games themselves, it's really kind of lacking some things. I mean, Half-Life 1 barely had a story to it. And granted, it's fun to play, but you need, as a development studio, you need to have all those layers in there. You need the story, you need the gameplay, you need the good mechanics, you need all that to kind of work together. That's what a good development studio does. And Valve, well, yeah, they manage some great games. It's all just kind of bundled around one idea.
Yeah, I agree. They are mediocre stories with a cool, novelty thing towards them, whether it's, the physics engine with the gravity gun. But the stories themselves and the characters themselves aren't nailed on hits every single time and are very rarely anything more than forgettable. You remember the game and the mechanics, and I don't think you remember the characters as much. You want to talk about, you're going through Valve's list of games, and it's an impressive list, and it usually scores pretty high. There's the odd dip there, but every company has them. But yeah, they usually hit a very, very good score. But is that due to the quality of the game or the rarity of the game? Because they hardly ever release anything. When's the last time they released a AAA game? You can't have a VR game as a AAA game. That was a great technical achievement.
But we don't, because no one had done it.
Yeah, but they don't release. When's the last time they released a AAA game? Half-Life 2 and Left 4 Dead probably.
Alyx is a AAA game.
No, a VR game cannot be AAA. It doesn't have a big enough appeal. AAA has got to work not just on the size of the game and the quality, it has to work on how much money it can make. It has to work as a business sense. And Valve doesn't work as a business sense because they release one game every 7 or 8 years, and then they just spend the rest of their time going, you want to use our tech? Oh, modders, do you want to make something with our tech and then we'll take it off you? Okay. like Gmod and all these things that have been left for people just to mod the hell out of and keep them relevant. Like Valve are great at creating tech and creating physics and engines and stuff like that. No one can take that away from them. But are they the greatest game studio? No, for one reason. As a game studio, you have maybe three principles: making money as a company side of things. But the two most important are delivering good service for your fans and innovation. Now, they do the innovation, like with Alex and stuff like that. They're not great financially as a company. They're not in the top 5, top 10 game companies for profit. And they definitely don't do good service for fans, because all fans want is Half-Life 3. That's all they want. That is all they want. And when was Half-Life 2 released? What year?
2004.
2004. Yeah, 16 years ago or something like that. That's not good fan service. It's okay waiting a period of time. Even wait 10 years, absolutely fine. But don't then say, hey guys, we know you want more Half-Life. Well, we're going to put it on VR and make you buy a whole new system to play it. Come on over. Like this is the only game that you're going to want to play on this system, but please spend £200, $300, whatever, on a new system just to play a game that lasts. How long did Alex last? I think it was about a couple of hours, wasn't it?
No, it's a fully fledged game. It's as long as Half-Life 2.
Is it? Okay, fine. But you still got to buy a whole system just to play it. Because how many people realistically, VR is not a huge selling thing. It's a decent selling thing, but it's not right.
If you got to push the industry forward, it's what you got to do.
By alienating, I'd say 75% of your audience that want a Half-Life 3. That's a good company. That's a nice company. Hey, 75% of you, fuck off, you paupers. Hey, you guys with the money, come over here. You're the guys that we want to speak to. Come on. You've chosen the money grabbing, like, no. They had good engines once upon a time. Like,
you know what, Terry? You know what? I think your plan here was genius. Last week, Adam picked GLaDOS as the best villain, and here you are having him shit on the entire Valve franchise. Good idea, Terry. I love it.
GLaDOS is a great character. GLaDOS is a great character. Portal is a great game. I'm not taking anything away from it, but they don't release any more Portal. They don't release any more Half-Life. They don't release any more Left 4 Dead. They just let other companies come along and do something similar because they have to. Because people want it.
Can I have the floor back just to?
Sure. Yeah.
So Vince, you made a good point. Centering the games around engines, and I would argue yes, they do. And the reason they do this because to go against what you were saying there, Adam, like Valve, they don't need the money. They have Steam. They are one of the wealthiest companies in the world. So when they're releasing a game, it is not to make money. It's purely for the passion of the game. Valve do not make a game unless they've got something to say and unless they've got something original to do. Like, they're not just going to release a game just to get some money back. Like, that's the reason why Alex came out on VR. Yeah, because they're not worried about that everyone can't play it, because they're trying to push technology forward. Every game they bring out is pushing the genre, like the industry forward in some way. You look at everything from the first Half-Life 2, to what they did with Portal, Team Fortress, the way they were one of the first people to make their games free to play, which they've set the standard of like what the games are these days. And Counter-Strike, like everything, like they won't release a game unless they've got something to say tech-wise or storyline-wise. Alex came out on VR because they could just release a new Half-Life like we all want, but really, like, if we really just got Half-Life 3 in today's climate, is that really what we want? Or do we want something new, like something that we haven't had before, which is what Alex is? It's something you can't get on other platforms. So not obviously like in that way, but it's like you can't get that experience,
I appreciate that.
And that's why they did it. They wanted to do something that hadn't been done before. We hadn't had a AAA game on VR before, like a proper FPS. length, this as long as Half-Life 2 with a similar kind of budget. Like effects wise, it is fantastic. But yeah, they will not release a game unless they have a reason to. And because when they kind of perfect something, they just kind of drop a mic and then they're out.
You kind of went a little bit too long on that sentence. You should have just left it at they won't release a game. Because if you say Valve and you say Half-Life, nearly everyone in the conversation is going to go, do you think they'll release Half-Life 3? Do you think they'll release Half-Life 3? Like, if I'd say 95% of their fan base wants Half-Life 3. And Half-Life Alyx obviously isn't Half-Life 3. It is a separate thing. But and they just haven't done it, maybe it will come, but everyone's been saying, oh, it's definitely coming for the last 10 years. You know, until it comes, you've got to take it as we don't know. It's just not right. It's not right for a company with that big of a fan base to say, yeah, you want more Half-Life and you've been begging for it. 25% of you can play it over here. Or the rest of you can just read about it. Like, yes, it's all good, innovating. If they were doing this on the side, because like you said, money's no problem for them. They're one of the richest companies. Then release a Half-Life 3 and have Half-Life Alyx on the side. The last engine they made was the Source 2 engine, I believe, in 2016. They're not even innovating on the engine side of things anymore. That's becoming an obsolete engine. They've innovated in a system that only a small percentage of their fans can play. That is not a good company. Like, they have released good games, but what have they done for me lately? Nada. You talk about Portal and how great of a game that was, Vince. You said making me shit on it, and you're right. It's very difficult to shit on Portal, and I won't. What I will shit on is they made 2 and thought, do you know what? We're done with this. We're not even going to touch it again. This is what they do. Left 4 Dead 1 and 2.
There's nothing else to say. What is there? Like, they could release a Portal 3. That's the thing. They could be releasing these like every 3, 4, 5 years, whatever, every 2 years, and they'd sell. But it
takes them too long to come up with a new innovation.
But if it's
other companies out there that innovate all the time, and they don't have to release every year, but they release every 5 years, every 6 years, and they usually nail it. Like, I don't know. Valve were a great company when they were releasing more frequently. Now they're an okay company with a few positive assessments, like asterisks next to it. In my opinion, I'm sure you think differently, and I'm sure Vince thinks differently as well. But have you anything else to say?
No, I'm going to let you take the floor, Adam.
Okay. You want to talk about a company, Terry, that revolutionizes gaming. You want to talk about a company that is successful and doesn't have to worry about money. You want to talk about a company that creates engines, world famous engines. Like, you want to talk about all of this innovation, being the first of its kind. Then there's only one company you can talk about, and that is Rockstar Games.
Fucking knew it.
Yeah, you knew it because it makes sense. You went through your little list of games released by Valve and all of these high percentage games and great quality games. Let me take you down a little tour of Rockstar. We have, and I'm not going to list them all of the GTAs. All of them. You have Red Dead Redemptions, the prequels, the 1 and the 2, the Nightmare, all of them. You have LA Noire, which revolutionized facial animation, which was then adapted as games have gone on. You have Bully, which people are clamoring for a new Bully. You have Max Payne. You had Manhunt, which got banned in most countries. You had The Warriors, which was an incredible game with a huge fan base. You have Midnight Club, which was an okay racing game. Let's move past Midnight Club. We have Smuggler's Run 1 and 2. Now, Terry, we know you love Smuggler's Run. We know you love Smuggler's Run. You fought for Smuggler's Run. We had State of Emergency, which was a great game. We had The Italian Job, which was a fun game. We had Earthworm Jim 3D, which I didn't know existed. And we had Oni, which was a great game. But you can forget most of them, even though they're great games. Let's talk about Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption, just to start with. And you could put any company that you guys are going to put out there, and any company out there, and Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption will kick their ass for superior storytelling, for superior acting, for superior engine, for superior graphics, for superior open world, like for superior profit. You want to talk about a company making profit? Rockstar are the most successful game company that aren't a studio like Sony or Microsoft. That is a pure game studio. Rockstar, the most successful company. Look at Grand Theft Auto 5. Look at how much money that game has made. More than most studios make. That one game, the little boy that could, just chugging along, like making an absolute killing every single month. You look at the top selling games, there's Grand Theft Auto. But you can look at all the previous games. Me and Vince, we just did the Sunday Fun Day Challenge. Vince, can you tell people how many Grand Theft Auto games are in those top 10? Like the top selling games, Grand Theft Auto 4,
2.
Grand Theft Auto 5. 2. Grand Theft Auto 3 is the highest selling game. Let me take you down. Let me take you down Metacritic's greatest games of all time based on critical score. In the top 10 games, you have 5 Rockstar games. In the top 20 games, you have 9 Rockstar games. Funnily enough, Half-Life isn't in there. Funnily enough, Half-Life 2 isn't in there. Left 4 Dead isn't in there. Portal's not in there. Because they don't make great games. You want to talk about the flag bearer for making games, it's Rockstar. Flag bearer for storytelling. Flag bearer for open world. It's what everyone goes to. If Grand Theft Auto 6 was announced tomorrow, it would have as much fanfare as a console being announced. It is that big of a thing when a Grand Theft Auto game is announced. Look at when Red Dead Redemption 2, probably the what's the word I'm looking for? The
most forgettable.
It's a huge, massive game. It's a huge, massive game. It is slightly less popular than GTA. GTA is a behemoth. But look at the fanfare when Red Dead Redemption 2 was announced. There were trailer breakdowns absolutely everywhere. The world lost its shit when Rockstar changes its logo. It ends up on BBC News. You know, it is that big of a thing when Rockstar announce a new game. And then you have months and years of build-up. And the release will guarantee that when a next Rockstar game releases, it will be the top-selling game of the year. It will break all records. Because they don't get worse. They only get better. Like you want to talk about a company that learns from the past and innovates. You want to talk about online gaming, Grand Theft Auto Online. They took what was being done before and they said, we'll do it better. And we'll make a shit ton of money from it. From every angle you want to look at as a company, Rockstar beats every other company. Making money, making games, and the quality of the games. Tell me the last Rockstar game that was poor quality. You might not like the game.
Tell you the first.
You might not like the games, but you can't deny that Rockstar have learned how to make great games. And the last, I don't know, you look at last 20 years have all been pretty solid. Maybe the last 15 even better into the stratosphere. And they don't release games every year. They're not a Ubisoft. They're not a Bethesda that knock out games every year. They take their time, 7 years, 8 years, 5 years. But when they do, boy, it changes gaming. You cannot tell me that Grand Theft Auto 5 did change gaming. You can't tell me that the original Grand Theft Auto didn't change gaming. When Grand Theft Auto 3 released, it is one of the games that made the PlayStation 2 so successful. Open world gaming in a 3D environment like that. I don't have anything else to say. Well, I have plenty to say, but I will open the floor to questions and lies from my counterpart.
Vince, you want to go?
All right. Boy, do wait one.
Oh, he's fueling up, boy. He's
fueling
fueling up.
You stall for time.
Let's go. I've been prepared for this. For as long as I knew, you were absolutely going to pick Rockstar Games. Because...
It's the obvious choice.
It's an okay choice. Because when you look at Rockstar, they are a one-trick pony for sure.
Lies.
When you see the Rockstar logo, you know two things. You're going to get an open world and you're going to get characters. That's what
They
you
made
know.
the table tennis world championships continue. That's not open world.
That's a table tennis game that looked
in the
nice
last
because it was a table
15
tennis game.
years? Was that or?
That was a launch title for the Xbox 360, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. But when you think of Rockstar recently, you look at their recent history. You're the one that brought up Red Dead Redemption,
Mhm.
GTA, all that.
Yeah.
You obviously know you're going to get an open world game. You know,
Yeah.
it's their go-to. It's their standard.
Well, they do better than anybody
So
else.
is
Continue.
that they do okay on par with everybody else.
We're
You
not
throw an
spreading
assassin
lies
into
here.
GTA, you throw a hacker into GTA, you throw some dragons into GTA, all of a sudden it's Skyrim or Assassin's Creed. It's the same shit. It's an open world. It's an open world. Yeah, a highly detailed open world, but that's all they do. They make these open worlds, they add some details into it, and they say, boom, we're done. Forget about world building, forget about making interesting missions, forget about all that. That's just all they do. They just add little details and people lose their shit over it. Remember when the horse's ball string at GTA, not GTA, the fucking Red Dead Redemption 2? What's the point of that? It's
What a
so
waste of
unnecessary.
money.
What a waste of money.
Oh, that
It
was
was
about
massive.
a month
Slow.
of crunch. That was. Someone didn't see their family for that.
Exactly.
Some horses
Because they were
balls.
working on some horses' balls. And that slow as fuck looting animation. Come on now. If I wanted to waste my time that much, I would have waited for Half-Life 3.
Fine, a shot back. Like, listen. Before you go, Terry, like, I'm not sitting here listening to this blasphemy. If the best you can come up with is that they spent too much time on some horse dick and some looting, then that is how low you're scraping your argument. Like, you talk about, if you put in a dragon and you're putting this and you're putting this into open world, that's not how it works. That's like going to a Michelin star restaurant. That's like going to a Michelin star restaurant. In fact, it's like going to a fast food restaurant and eating a burger and going, could be McDonald's, could be Burger King. It's a patty in a bun. They all taste different. Yeah. We all have our favorites. So you can't, that is a load of bollocks because it's what they do with it.
It's
not
what
the idea
they do
of
with
open
it.
world. They didn't create
it's
open worlds. They refined it open world. You look at Red Dead Redemption and you look at GTA and tell me that they're not hugely different games.
It's the same game. Settings. One's got cars, one's got horses.
Yeah.
That's not true at all.
When you look at Rockstar,
it's basically it is Grand Theft. Red Dead Redemption is Grand Theft Auto 1890 or whatever you want to call it. It's the same game. It's the same control scheme, mini map. Like it's everything the same.
Vince, have you played Red Dead Redemption 2?
No, because I don't want to bother with it.
Shut up then. Like, have you played through all of GTA 5?
Yeah, like 6 years ago when it first released.
Yeah,
or 8 years ago. Who the fuck knows?
Terry,
it's almost 10 years ago.
Terry, have you played through Red Redemption 2?
Not all of it, but I've played some of it, yeah.
A huge chunk, a small chunk?
About half of it.
Okay, well, neither of you can talk about Red Dead Redemption because there is the beauty of what makes it so different is that GTA will always be high energy, movie style, big scenes, lots of fun, and it's not a really gritty game. You look at Red Dead Redemption and it's heartbreak. It is always a story of heartbreak. It is always a story of someone just being against it all the time. And it won so many awards, Red Dead Redemption, because of that. And it polarized some people because they made a realistic game. It wasn't, oh, we're going to go fight this dragon and it's level 25. It's not. It was about real life. It's the closest game you'll get to real life in a way that in the movement, in the feel, in all of this. It was an incredible game. But
isn't there a unicorn? Well,
no, I don't think so.
You know what I love about my escapism in video games? Being reminded of fucking real life. Get that shit out of here. I don't need that reminder. I play video games to have fun. That does not sound like fun at all.
Red Dead Redemption 2 is a hell of a lot of fun to play, though.
Right.
But
anyway,
we're on GTA Red Dead Redemption here. Can I pull out some of the other stuff here in the bigger picture? Because you talk about engines as well. You talk about like engines being created for games and companies. You've got the Rage engine. you know, like, which is the Rockstar engine, which is an incredible engine. You look at some of their other games. Max Payne, the first game to ever have bullet time, slow motion
That
effects.
that was not Rockstar. They can take credit for Max Payne 3, but
Yes,
Max Payne
okay,
1
they
and
can take
2 were Remedy.
Okay, I take that back. But look what they did with Max Payne 3. A series that was pretty much dead.
Don't even remember that one.
Max Payne 3 is a really good game. It was a really good game. It's the first game that used the Rage engine. It was an incredible looking game. But you look at LA Noire.
Oh, please talk about LA
stuff.
Noire.
Like LA Noire had its faults, yeah.
Yeah, but
The facial animation
again, that was
rough.
more Team Bondi, was it? Like they
Still
had
Rockstar,
a little bit of
Rockstar, a heavy part of that. Like, so LA Noire is a Rockstar game. Just had a secondary studio involved in it.
Is it though?
I would argue that it is. But you look, they are always changing. Warriors, incredible game.
Not as good as you remember it to be.
No, that's not true. Played it not long ago. Still really loved it. Like, they are so good at making games. It's just a continuous Smuggler's Run. We know Terry likes Smuggler's Run. He can't argue on that one.
It's good for the time, maybe.
Manhunt was revolutionary in its way as well. That at the level of detail that it went into, with obviously it was a violent game. They have a way of doing things, but they do it so well, and you can see where they learn. You want to talk about open worlds and stuff like that, which is what they're most famous for. But Terry, what did it feel like for you when you played GTA Vice City and the radio's on and you're driving around in probably a Cheetah was probably, I think, the big car in that game. Like, you've got some Michael Jackson, Billie Jean coming out of the radio and you're driving around. Can you not remember that moment right now? How it made you feel playing that game, that soundtrack, that game?
I remember it clearly, and it was amazing. And I was like, I can't wait to see what this developer does in 20 years. And they're doing the same thing.
No, they're not doing the same thing.
They're doing exactly the same thing. They haven't changed at all since Vice City. The gameplay is exactly the same. The way it plays is exactly the same.
That's blasphemy.
That
is blasphemy.
Let me put this one to sleep, right? Because
go ahead, bury him.
You're kind of like saying about how Valve don't release enough games and stuff like that, and how Rockstar have learned. Yeah, they have learned, because if you look at their library of games, there's a lot of average stuff in there. Some bad, some very average. And yeah, you're right. Over the last 15 years, things have improved quite a lot. But then look, what have we got in the last 15 years? At least we had variety in those earlier years. Yeah, it wasn't bad, but they were doing different things. They were like playing with different genres. All we've had in the last 15 years is GTA and Red Dead Redemption. And I'm sorry, but they are the same game. They're just these open world sandbox games. One, you're driving cars. One, you're riding horses. Yes, one is more emphasized on emotional storytelling, but there's still storytelling sandbox genre games. And I'm sorry, and again, you're mocking how often Valve release a game. Let's be honest now. When's the last time, other than Red Dead Redemption?
2018.
Exactly. Other than Red Dead 2, and trust me, those development cycles are just going to get longer and longer. You're going to be GTA 6 is probably going to become the Half-Life 3 joke. It's going to be that you're probably going to be waiting this long for a GTA 6, because why would they release it now? Because they care about the money. And this is the difference between Valve and Rockstar. This is the difference between Valve and Rockstar. Rockstar have to answer to Take-Two, and they want money, and they are going to get money by releasing these packs on GTA Online. And it's not going to make... The only reason you're going to see Rockstar develop something new is going to be to make some more money, and that is because they're releasing shit for GTA Online. And that's
GTA
just the way...
6 is officially in development. We know it's coming.
It is in development, but how long is it going to be in development?
I know the answer to that.
And at what cost? Because we all know the horror stories of the development cycle of Red Dead Redemption 2, and the crunch that people will put through and stuff like that. Whereas I would argue Valve has a flat hierarchy in that there are no bosses above everyone. Everyone is equal. Everyone is free to experiment on projects and take as much time as they need to develop something. Like it's a very, very different structure of a company to Rockstar, who, they are not looking good for how their company is run. And then you've got one of, a lot of the main development team have left recently. One of the houses with the driving force behind the GTA games is now gone. And some other key storyline development people have now gone. Are we really going to see the same Rockstar that we've had in the last, since the GTA? Because I would argue, obviously the GTA games are fantastic. Bully, fantastic. The Red Dead games, fantastic. But they are very similar games. They're not pushing boundaries into new genres. That's what I'd argue.
The last thing I'll say is my closing statement, like before we move on to Vince, because I don't want to take too much of the time, is...
I have one more thing to say.
Okay, well, say your bit now, Vince. Say your bit now. I know.
GTA 4, that's all. How much
Vince,
of a dumpster fire was that game?
Vince, which is the highest rated Metacritic game of GTA's career?
Of GTA's career?
Of
For
GTA,
some reason, GTA 4.
And what score did that have, Vince? What score did that have, Vince?
What did it have?
I'll tell you, it's a
For
98.
some reason, a 98.
A 98. So, no,
you know
games
what else had a
improve over
98?
time. Games improve over
Tony
time.
Hawk's Pro Skater 2.
Great game.
That also had a 98. So what's your point?
Game. No, my point is it's very hard. Because when GTA 4 came out, everyone said it was an incredible game. Because it was the next GTA on a new system, etc., etc. They really pushed the boundaries of it, and everyone said it was incredible. And GTA 5 came out and was such a superior game. I know it scored one less, but it was going up at the time when there was a lot of big games coming out as well. It was such a superior game that they went, oh, hang on, this is much better than GTA 4. And GTA 4's driving mechanics are terrible, like the graphics aren't great, like all of that. But they learn from it and evolve. They don't just release the same stuff. What I wanted to end with was they have the shark cards and stuff like this, and but they don't force you to do that. There's legitimate ways to make money within the game, and it's just if people want it quick, they can go get it. And Rockstar are really good that they've been doing for the last year that every month they'll put $1 million into your account. And $1 million is actually quite a big chunk of money in Rockstar. To buy some of the great cards is like 8 million, 6 million, and all the bits to do the new islands and stuff. And they're giving that away because they know the game is older. And that is to keep people playing it. And it works. You want to talk about a successful company, Rockstar have changed the way that games are developed and run. They've shown that you can have a really good single player thing and an online thing separate to the game and do it really, really well. A way that if you're honest with it, Microsoft with Halo are now doing, that they will probably release the multiplayer separate to the game. That is something that isn't really done that often, and hasn't been done well really before. But Rockstar have really done well with it. They did it with Red Dead Redemption, and Red Dead Redemption 2 doesn't work as well online because of the scenario that it is. It's a very different game. There's not as much stuff that you can buy. Like the cards at least have stuff. Like Rockstar as a company find that perfect balance that Valve have of putting time periods between the games and only releasing high quality games, which is what they're synonymous for now. You know that when GTA 6 releases, quality wise, it will be unmatched.
But when are they going to do something different, Adam? You brought up a good point.
I'm not talking about
Rockstar Table Tennis. I love that game. What a great game. They kind of went into the sports genre and they made something new, made something niche that someone had never done before, and still the best table tennis game there is. And I love table tennis. But have we had anything different since then?
I'm not talking about them making anything different. What I'm talking about right now is the quality. And you cannot deny, either of you, that when whatever is next from Rockstar, whether it's GTA 6 or a new IP, the quality will be exceptional. Because they don't, especially now, and they haven't done for a long time, released a buggy game to start with where it needs patching like hell. The only time that this happened was with GTA Online, which was the first of its kind, and they fixed it. And look at it now. I'm going to end my time, but if you're really talking about the greatest game studio of all times, it is the most critically acclaimed studio, and it's one of the studios that makes the most money. And there's no other game on the planet, apart from maybe Half-Life 3, that could cause as much fanfare as when GTA 6 is officially announced. That is my time. Vince, the floor is yours.
Okay.
Pick whatever makes Gears of War.
It's about time we got to a real studio that actually produces quality games with a variety of games under their belt. Because, you've got your history, you've got Valve, you've got Rockstar, who make pretty good games of varying degrees. I want to talk to you about Respawn Entertainment. Because, for sure, Respawn Entertainment has to be one of the best developers out there right now. You've got Titanfall, you got Titanfall 2, you've got Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Yeah, just 3 games, but they're a relatively new studio. And let's be honest, if you want quality, it's there in full force. Pun intended, for sure. Because when you look at when Titanfall was first announced, you look at the transition between first-person shooter, wall running, movement mechanics, all that, then shifting over to mech first-person shooter gameplay, that was fantastic. It was good for the time. I mean, it's Xbox exclusive, but, that being said, Titanfall 2 came out with a campaign, which first-person shooter campaigns, a dime a dozen. But very rarely are they as good as Titanfall 2's was. You play the Titanfall 2 campaign, it is one of the best single-player campaigns ever made. I'm more than likely going to do a video on why you should play Titanfall 2 because the game's fucking incredible. But to have such a well-thought-out campaign that deals with those movement mechanics, that deals with the Titan gameplay, that melds it into a fantastic, almost buddy cop-like story that moves you, that makes you believe that an actual robot can be human. It's fantastic. It's great. If you haven't played Titanfall 2, go play Titanfall 2. Because it was made, obviously, Respawn Entertainment, made by Vince Zampella, formerly of Infinity Ward, who made one of the best Call of Duty games of all time, the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And he brought that creativity over to Respawn, and he helped make Titanfall 2. I mean, let's be honest. It has one of the best levels in video games ever. If you play Titanfall 2, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't played Titanfall 2, I'm absolutely not going to spoil it for you because it's phenomenal. The design of their games is always on point. You always feel like every single mission, every single level you go into is designed for you to take full use of the mechanics, which is absolutely what Respawn does best. Those wall running mechanics are top tier, better than any other studio can do. I mean, even their competitor, Call of Duty, tried it and failed miserably. Then you move on to the absolute best recent Star Wars game made so far. You have Jedi Fallen Order. You have the best use of a lightsaber in a game where it doesn't actually feel like you're waving a baseball bat and pinging stormtroopers' heads. You're actually slicing through them. You're dismembering them. You're stabbing them. It feels great to play. Not very often do you get a Souls-like game be as good as Fallen Order was. It's probably the most accessible, Souls-like game because Respawn knows how to design games. They know what players want. They know how to deliver it. Then you fast forward to Apex Legends. And while me not being a Battle Royale person myself, I love Apex Legends. You have a competitor to Fortnite that pretty much shadow dropped like day before it was released. They announced it. And you have that same great feel again. The weapons feel amazing. The gameplay feels amazing. You have these moments. You have these. I mean, it's just fantastic the way the game's designed, the way it's played. And Respawn are so good at what they do that you often have imitators in the same genre. You have the Respawn mechanic that they introduced in Apex Legends that was then picked up by Fortnite and Call of Duty Warzone. The idea is so good that competitors took it and put it in their games. You saw it with the wall running mechanics in Titanfall, where Call of Duty took that and put it in their games. Respawn is a company that is often imitated but never replicated because they do what they do so well. They do it almost perfectly. And you can see it through their games. You can see Titanfall's world building, how they created an amazing sci-fi world. You see it in Fallen Order. You see how they took the most beloved IP there could possibly be, Star Wars, and made it their own. They made the best Star Wars game in recent memory. I mean, we're not counting, Old Republic for now. They made Apex Legends. While not, the top of the Battle Royale list, because, every 12-year-old in the world plays Fortnite, it's definitely up there. The only reason why people would play Call of Duty Warzone over Apex Legends is because they know the Call of Duty name. That's it. That's the only thing Call of Duty has going for it. Respawn knows how to make games. They know how to make great games, and they know how to design those games the way they want them designed. And how perfectly they make those games. It's a shame. It's a shame you two had such poor choices in your studios that don't believe in their games, that just throw open worlds out there, because Respawn narrows it down and they are great at what they do. Adam, sure, go ahead.
I'm sorry to jump in here, Terry. I'm sure you've got a lot of things to say about this terrible choice, but I'm just going to list a few things here just to obviously notice you stayed very quiet on a certain game on the list of games that they released, but we'll add that one in on the mix as well. Titanfall.
Okay.
Yeah, 2014. Metacritic average 84. 84. Pretty solid score, 84. Nothing problem with that.
Oh, we're pulling Metacritics, huh?
Titanfall 2, Metacritic 87. Mm-hmm. Great. Fantastic score. Apex Legends, 79. Oh, dip a little bit. It's okay. Not so bad. Star Wars, 77. Oh. Medal of Honor, Above and Beyond, 64. You see, they started here and they ran out of ideas, and now they've gone from a really promising studio with Titanfall, which isn't my sort of game, but I know that it is a well-designed game. I'm not going to shit on Titanfall or Titanfall 2. Titanfall Assault is clearly just a money grab, so we won't even talk about that monstrosity. But Apex Legends had some good ideas, but with nothing special whatsoever. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was a okay game, quite buggy, kind of didn't have the heart of a Star Wars game. It should have.
Did it not?
I didn't think so, and that's why I've tried twice to finish it. The only thing that was good was BB, whatever they called it. What was the thing called? The little... That was quite cool, but it just didn't... It had good moments, but wasn't a great game. And Medal of Honor Above and Beyond is an absolute monstrosity of a game that should never have been created. There isn't enough data to say whether they are a great studio, a good studio, a bad studio, because they're still learning.
I mean, all you have to do is play their games. That's all you have to do. You have to look at the quality they put out, and then I'll have
there's
you know,
nothing there.
but-
There's no game there that makes me think I have to play this.
That's a shame. Never played Titanfall 2.
Yeah, I'm not a big mech guy, so that was never going to be my. That was my problem with Anthem as well. I'm just not that sort of player. But I know that those games play well. I know the wall running is really good and stuff like that. But they're an okay studio that haven't wowed me. They haven't had a single game go into the 90s.
And that's Metacritic, though. We've seen the shit that Metacritic has spewed before.
Yeah, it's true. But they are very they are. I get this right. Are they owned by EA, or they're a subsidiary of EA, aren't they?
Yes.
That does not help them. Like EA
it
is
didn't help
not the
Titanfall
nicest
2
of companies.
But you look at Titanfall 2, you look at what they did with Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and you see that they have greatness there. You see that they have a passion for making games.
Potential. I don't think they've released a game that can be called great yet. They've released good games and okay games, but not a great game.
No, well, that does it. I'm making a video on Titanfall 2.
Make it. Like I can't wait to see it. But Terry, do you want to?
Yeah. As you said, Adam, I think they're just too young of a company to claim, too young of a studio to claim that they're the best developer out there. If there had been, what would we get to Titanfall in 2014? If we had
2014,
if we had 7 years of just absolute hits, I don't like to use Metacritic just because it is, but you can get a kind of bearing. If we were getting like every game in the 90s, I'd be like, okay, this is someone like in the top tier of studios. There's someone that you have to pay attention to at all times. But there's a few kind of hits and misses. Yeah, as you said, you got some of the top people from Infinity Ward, and they are, there's no doubt about it. Respawn are the FPS guys. They're the go-to guys if you want a decent FPS game. But Titanfall, I remember that the hype surrounding that and how that really fell flat with was there like no single player mode on that, or was it? I can't remember.
The original Titanfall did not have single player, but they introduced it in 2 and blew it away.
Exactly. So the first one that just kind of died a death. And Titanfall 2, they improved on that. Apex, I'll give it to you. They took what Fortnite did, and they just dropped it, and you could argue they improved on it. But Jedi Fallen Order, if you're arguing like quality in games, that was a buggy mess. That was a real buggy mess that they released that in. A bit of a state, but I can certainly see potential there, and the fact that they came away from the FPS genre to do something a little bit different with Jedi Fallen Order. You can certainly see that studio going forward and doing some great things and doing some different things. But I just think that right now they aren't there. They aren't at the I wouldn't even put them in the top tier of studios, let alone the best in the world, like ever.
Yeah, you look at. Sorry, Karen.
No, God, no, I'm pretty much done there anyway.
You're on about top tiers, and let's take away mine and Terry's at the moment. So no Valve, no Rockstar. You would still probably put Bethesda above them, probably Ubisoft, but Ubisoft have misses. Bethesda have misses. But when they hit, it's incredible. Look at Assassin's Creed. Yeah. Black Flag in Assassin's Creed is one of the greatest games. Like the original Assassin's Creed, the Ezio saga in Assassin's Creed. Even some of that new stuff, like Odyssey was a great game. Valhalla is a game. But you look at Bethesda and you look at Fallout, New Vegas, for example.
Just purely on FPSs, I would put id above them. Just purely on Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal alone.
They don't excel. They're not the best at anything. They're just still cutting their teeth as a company, and maybe they'll become that. Maybe they will have a niche that they go down to, and they spread themselves over multiple things and become a flag bearer for quality, but they are nowhere near that yet. That doesn't mean they won't get there, but they cannot be called the greatest studio of all times when they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. One of them's a mobile game, and one of them's a shitty VR game. Like, they just they can't be called the greatest studio of all times. Like,
Oh, for sure they can. Just because you don't like mechs has been clouding your judgment this whole time. If you were to play through Titanfall 2 in its entirety, you would see what makes it great.
I actually do want to play Titanfall 2 because I haven't played it yet, and I do like mechs. I'm a huge Gundam fan. I know it's a little bit different, but like,
yeah.
I will play Titanfall 2. I give you my word that I will go and soon, like when I get free time from editing, I will play Titanfall 2, and I will give you on the podcast or whatever my honest, because there's nothing on the line. My honest review of Titanfall 2's campaign. I won't play it online. Won't even touch it online. But I will play the campaign, and I will give you my honest review.
That's where the game shines.
I want games to be good. I never want a game to be bad. So I always go in open-minded. Like, but when it comes to this campaign that you're running now of that Respawn are the greatest studio of all times, I think you need to put that beer bottle down. Like, because that is that's the drink talking.
Like, it's a shame that you don't get to experience greatness up here with the rest of us.
I do. Look at me. Like, look at the trophies. They're here. Like, do I need to put the glasses on again and the belt and like? I am greatness. I don't.
No, you're pandering personified. Let's be real. Rockstar Games. Who the fuck's gonna pick Rockstar Games?
Just say.
I think it's time for our kind of closing statements to the to the audience, and
I will doff my equal hat, and I will be no pandering for this. This is our first campaign mode. As you can see, it's been a bit tasty. If you want to vote on this, please head over to our Twitter page, which is Crab Shifty, and vote for your winner. It'll be live now, and really when you're watching this.
Yeah.
Also put a comment under there why you're voting for it, and if you want your pick to win, maybe get some other people to vote for it. Hopefully I win, but I'm sure everyone has an equal chance, and everyone's come with great options. And we'll also write down in the comments below who you think should win as well. We'll include that. But yeah, guys, this is our first campaign mode. A new space for debates, a safe space for ripping each other to shreds. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you to the best beard in the business, the beard of war, Mr. Vince Haley.
Of course, always a pleasure. Always.
Still searching for that W. Still searching for a W. But one day, not with these picks though. And to the Retro King himself, the Pun Master General, Mr. Terry Jess. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys. Vote Valve.
And as always, stay shifty.